Hi, I'm Andrew with Metal Fabworks, and today I'm going to show you how to install one of our Adventure Air underhood onboard air compressor kits for the Textron Off-Road Wildcat XX. It's going to be a really straightforward install. We've designed this so it's 100% bolt-in using factory bolt locations. It comes pre-wired and just plugs straight into the factory wiring provisions offered by Textron. So quick, easy install for you there. All right, first thing you want to do, remove your factory hood, set it aside for now. You may notice we've gone ahead and done a little bit of the pre-assembly work just for speeding up the video a little bit. The first thing you'll probably notice is this coolant reservoir normally sits in here at an angle like this. It's got two brackets, one here that also acts as your tool pouch mount, and then a rearward bracket that looks very similar to this one that connects to these two ears. The first thing you want to do using a T25 Torx is remove this rear bracket and unbolt it from this front mount so that it's free floating. Once you've got that free floating, the next thing you want to do, this air dam right here, you don't have to remove it, but you want to go ahead and loosen these three mounts, which are bolts, which are also T25 Torx, and essentially your bracket's going to sandwich right in between here and your chassis cross member right there, and these bolts are going to sandwich it in there and hold it in place. It's also going to use this bolt location here to mount, and the rearward bolt location that from the factory mounts this coolant reservoir. But now your coolant reservoir is going to be rerouted and is going to be sitting in there somewhere about right there. So we'll go ahead and get the bracket installed and go from there. All right, now that we've got some of that pre-assembly work out of the way, we're just going to set the compressor out of the way over here for now. You'll notice that the kit comes with a little bit longer electrical connection than you need. Basically that's to allow you to run your wiring down to one of the factory connections and then zip tie it up out of the way, and then you can install the air compressor afterwards. Basically what you're looking for, you can do either on a keyed or non-keyed connector. The male side is going to be your positive, the female side is going to be your negative or your ground. So if you're unsure which terminal to put it on, even though they're all pretty much labeled, you're just going to want to take a test light, stick it in the female side on the car, and see that it has juice either with key on, with key off, or constant, however you want to wire it. The main thing you're looking for, whatever circuit you put it on, the compressor draws about 15 amps. So if you're running on the same one as, say, a light bar or something like that, you just want to make sure your combined draw is not more than the fuse that's on the circuit that you're working with. So for this one, it's actually got some aftermarket stuff on it, like street legal kit and whatnot. So we already have a terminal picked out here. So we're just going to go ahead and plug that up, run the wiring, make sure it's clear of anything that's hot, moves, anything that could damage the wire, like your U-joints for your steering shaft, anything like that, and then zip tie it up out of the way, and then you can bolt your compressor in. All right, with your wiring connected and the excess wiring tied up out of the way, we're going to go ahead and fish this compressor in here. Essentially you want to put it in at an angle and have it go wrap under this black hose for the coolant reservoir here. And then there's two front forks here that are going to land on your two outermost screws. Then you want to line up this hole here, this back hole, So something like that. Once you get everything tightened down, it'll level out. And then you're going to make sure you route these hoses for the coolant reservoir out of the way. We'll go ahead and start throwing some bolts in this and get it tightened down. All right, now that you fished the bracket into place, basically you're going to have 2 feet on the front of this that hook in behind these 2 outermost bolts for your air valance or air dam. We like to start with the rearwardmost bolt. It's probably the most difficult to get to. Go ahead and get that one out of the way. Then move on to the toolbox bracket bolt here. And then lastly, tighten up these 2. Once you get that all done, that kind of takes care of mounting the bracket. From there, there's some provided hardware that works with your M6x1 Torx head bolts, also T25. You need that in a 10 millimeter. Go ahead and fasten your coolant reservoir to the new coolant reservoir mounts. And then we're going to go ahead and zip tie up the overflow tubes and make sure they're routed properly and out of the way. And that's going to go ahead and complete our install. We'll go ahead and get that done and cut to that in just a second. All right, a quick little tip for you. This rear bolt, as we mentioned earlier, can be a little tough to get to. So a little pro tip, take a long Allen and you can go through the bracket mounting point, through the ear on the reservoir, and then straight into the bolt, and then tighten it up that way. Makes it a little easier since you're trying to work under this lip. Okay, so we've got everything tightened down. Our rearmost bolt here, our tool bag bolt here, and our 3 bolts across the front, the middle one holding primarily the air dam, and the outer 2 sandwiching this bracket in between the cross member and the bolt heads here. With the coolant reservoir, you're going to use the provided M6x1 nylocks and washers with your factory bolts. The main thing we're looking for when mounting this is make sure you have clearance around the bottom. It's not just sitting on the bracket. And then from there you can mount it either in front of or behind these tabs. Really doesn't matter one way or the other. If you mount on the back side, it's going to give you a little bit more clearance for your air compressor hose routing, but it's going to make it a little tighter on getting the cap off. You can get it off one way or another. If it's mounted on the front or rear, it doesn't matter. It's really just personal preference. We typically mount it on the rear just because we use our air hose more than we add coolant to the vehicle. So that's kind of our thoughts there, but again, personal preference. Once that's all taken care of, the last thing you want to do is route your hoses. For this overflow hose, we like to route it underneath this bracket. Usually run a zip tie around it somewhere on this tube here, and then just route it so it drains where you want it to. This one we run around the fill reservoir here for the brakes, and then it's already hooked up on this end. And again, we run another zip tie somewhere in there. Once that's done, the installation is pretty much well complete. The only thing you need to know is if you want to use your air compressor, fill a tire, undo your Velcro here, undo the hose, route it to the tire that needs air, screw it on the valve stem there, that way you don't have to hold it on there. Come back to the compressor, and there's a rocker switch built in here. Simple as that. And again, if you have it on a keyed switch, you'll just need to turn on the key first. Other than that, that completes your installation. Enjoy your compressor. Thank you for the business. If you have any questions, give us a call or send us an email through the website. Thanks and have a great day.